Let's get back to those who retire early, because you may be wondering, how do they do it? How did they retire earlier than planned? Well, Chawn has got a great example, and what he has, and he's going to talk about right now, is a couple that he worked with. We're going to change their names and some of the specific details because we want to protect their privacy, but the basics of this story really should outline for people, Chawn, how you can retire earlier than planned with a plan.
Yeah, this is a great real life example that we're in the middle of right now. So we're going to call them Mike and Diane. So Mike and Diane, we started first working with them in 2019. So we're going on 5+ years. And kind of like we said before, they had these arbitrary ages out there of when they wanted to retire. Mike wanted to retire at the age of 64, and Diane was planning to retire at the age of 62. We've started working with them, obviously get together a few times every year. We're helping them develop their plan and start to give them more insight into what those years are going, what they're looking like and what their plans is looking like. So we continue to help them develop that plan. And now as time has gone by, right now, Mike retired a few months ago, and he was right at 64. So it was a few months sooner than what his target was, but still similar to his age. And we had been working with them to develop that plan, make sure they feel really confident with what they're doing. And then since Mike's retirement, we had another visit, and they surprised me a little bit with Diane saying that, hey, she had made that decision to retire at the age of 60, which is in a few months from now, about 2.5 years prior to than what her original date was. And the two biggest things they shared is part of what you should be looking for. Kind of like Loren touched on, they felt extremely confident that they can afford it. They knew they were ready to be able to do it and continue to achieve their retirement goals. And the other biggest thing was they just want to spend time together. Now at the ages of 64 and 60, they're looking forward to being together and enjoying these years right now.
Okay, so how does it work? So you originally met with them, they said 64, 62, you draw up a plan and show them, okay, boom, here's how it's gonna work. So she walks in and says, you know what guys, instead, I wanna retire at 60. Do you re-crunch the numbers right at that moment to show her that she can retire, or what do you do?
There wasn't a need to re-crunch it, because every time we're getting together as we're building these plans are live. So every time as years go by, as 6 months go by, another year goes by, the plan is current. Now it's reflecting what we know, what the tax rates are. We know what the markets have done. So now we know what their investment balances are. So every time we get together and look at their plan, whether it's through a phone call or in person with them, they're getting a better sense of reality and now knowing what that looks like. So they were able to make that decision based on what we have been experiencing for those several years that we've been working together.
So through those different iterations of the plan, I'm sure there was conversation along the way of, hey, Chawn, what happens if I don't work until 64? What happens if I don't work until 62? Is that possible? Does that work? What does the income look like? Where am I going to get that income from? What else can we do from a tax plan? All those conversations are a part of that. So it's really not a surprise. And what happens with that planning process is you turn insecurity into security. You turn indecision into decision, not having confidence, a lack of confidence into confidence, and that's what really enables somebody to make such a decision like retiring much younger than what they originally anticipated.
And I think the key too is they started working with the retirement planners here at Merkle Retirement Planning 5 years prior to this. So you had some time to look at the plan on a lot of different levels. And there were some action steps that I think if we share with the viewers today, that if you hear these, there's the kind of things they can be thinking about doing as well if they'd like to retire earlier.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things we did was that everybody always has an opportunity to be making investment decisions and designing their portfolio. Part of what we did, some really big action steps with Mike and Diane, is that we brought in new diversification into their investment portfolio. While we're all young and accumulating and saving, we're all used to having all that money in the markets at risk, and it's doing this every day, every month, every year. And we had the opportunity to bring in some different alternative strategies. Now they had part of their portfolio that was safety. So then no matter what kind of market cycle we go through, they're feeling confident that some of their portfolio is adding value to their plan and helping them get them in a better position. Another thing that they did is they took an opportunity of different lunch and learns that our team does. So during this 5+ years that we've been working with them, they've continued to get the information they needed. At some stage of life, concern 5 can be down there. Maybe it's not something that you're going to spend time on. But then a year later, all of a sudden concern 5 is number 1 or 2. And with the lunch and learns and different workshops that our team does, we're continuing to provide information and education to the families we work with. They don't just rely on maybe the once a year visit or a few times a year, depending on that stage of life. They're taking opportunity to continue to get information throughout the time frame, as part of that relationship that we have with them.
Yeah, that's a great point. We hold lunch and learns on things like Medicare and tax planning and market updates. So people get more and more information that can help them even change their plan, obviously, when to retire.
Yeah.
One last thing they did as well was they did look at their debt situation.
Yeah, that was a big part. I know Mike was a little more focused on this because I think he was retiring sooner. He has been retired now for a few months. This was really important for him that they had these debts out there and they wanted to get them taken care of. That's just the goal they had. So this was important to them. And then obviously if we're taking care of debts, your cash flow is going to feel a little stronger. So now maybe we don't need $8,000 a month, maybe you only need $7,000 a month because some of those required payments are gone. So that was a very intentional part of the last year, the experience that we've had together is that we were identifying when and where we could take some lump sum distributions to pay off specific debts so that they were achieving these goals. And it's fun just to see that you are the one that gets to identify the goals. I might look at, and I remember one of them only being like a $30,000 debt, nothing material, right? It's not a $200,000 mortgage, but yet it was very important to them to take care of that. So we wanted to make sure we did do that. So that was very important to them. It's fun just to have those conversations and help work with a couple to make those decisions in the best way possible.
And I think right there highlights the importance of having the comprehensive plan. So many times people think about retiring and they think about one facet of their plan, which is income. And they tie their retirement date, they tie their retirement time frame to that particular facet of the plan. But just like in this case, they wanted to make sure they had enough income, but they also needed to work on the debt so they had more disposal, more discretionary income, which also increases the confidence in so many other facets of the plan. And that's why there has to be a comprehensive plan, not just focused just on the income.